Plasterer. Hello, good evening and welcome to Ask the Plasterer with me, Eric the Plasterer. Oh, I did that wrong. What I should have said was, hello and welcome to Ask the Plasterer with me, Eric the Plasterer. That's better. Dear. For those of you that have not been here before, I'm Eric the Plasterer. This is Ask the Plasterer, the usual show, which we haven't done a usual show for a while because we've been doing quite a lot of interviews. You can ring up or you can type in and ask me any plastering related questions because I've been a plasterer for 37 years in South London, and so I know a fair bit about it. But currently we are doing quite a lot of interviews, and tonight is no exception. Tonight we've got Joe of Mac Plastering with us this evening, and he'll be coming on in a little while once we've gone down into the pub. But at the minute, here we are once again by the river. I'm hoping some of the guys are on. I haven't got my my chat box up, so I don't know. Hang on. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, Danny, hello mate. Richard, good evening. I don't know if a lot of the guys who are used to it being on a Monday have gone, oh, what's happened there? But we'll see how we go. Okay, as usual, it's a little bit nippy here by the river, so I'm going to take a short walk round the corner to the pub, and we'll see you in there.
Plasterers! What? Here's your fix. Can't go wrong with Easy Mix. Plasterers, you've got the power to hold your setback for an hour. Put more walls on in a day. Extra time the easy way. If your plaster's drying too slow, half time is the way to go. Half time, extra time, every time. Easy Mix Plastering Additives. Control your sets, make more money.
Yeah! Ask the Plasterer.
That's better. Welcome to ye old Hawk and Trowel boozer. Nice warm fire, a few adverts. The community, just let me remind you guys about the community if you're not already a part of it. In the video, all my video descriptions of all my videos, I've got a link to this this forum, our forum here, and all you have to do is click on that link and you'll get sent an invite, and you click on the invite and the rest of it's easy peasy from there on in, and you can chat to me or any of the other guys that are on there basically 24/7 anytime you like, and you've got a better chance of getting an answer to your question from me or from one of the other guys on there. You can post pictures on it and all that kind of stuff as well. Right, who else we got here this evening? Mark, hello James, hello Kieran, hello Richard, hello Danny boy. I've said hello to you, Danny, already, haven't I, mate? I'll have a chat with you later. Okay, this evening, as a lot of you already know, we're going to be talking to Mac Plastering over there in Northern Ireland, and find out why he became plasterer and about his YouTube channel. I think Mac's got about 13,000 subscribers on the channel. And he does a lot of stuff that I'm really interested in when it comes to making sand and cement look like bricks and all that kind of gear. So without further ado, I'm just going to press the old interview part of the pub button, and all going well, Mac will appear. Hey Mac, hello mate.
What's up guys?
Welcome. First mate, thanks ever so much for agreeing to come along and do an interview and take up a precious evening after you've gotten in from work, mate, and especially just after the bank holiday, thinking, my first day back at work, and when I get home I've got that interview.
No, not at all. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Guys, as usual, as a chat to Mac, you can put any questions up. Obviously, if we're in the thick of talking, we might miss a few of them, but we'll hopefully catch up with them later on. And but we'll see how we go. So, Mac, the first thing I want to ask you, mate, which obviously ask all the guys, is out of all the jobs in the world that you could possibly do, why did you become a plasterer, mate?
Why did I become a plasterer? How long do we have?
Take your time, mate. As long as you like. As long as you like.
Well, obviously, we finished school. obviously everybody's sort of waiting for their GCSE results and stuff to see how good of a job you can really get, you know. But I actually remember it was in the summer, we were actually all out playing football, me and a couple of friends. All about 16, all the same age, left school. So what are you going to do? Like, there's no school, you're going to play football on the street. And basically, I think it was a fella and a woman came down wearing a suit and had like paperwork with them. And they were like, what are you going to do as a job? All this sort of stuff. I'm like, well, who are you? People just coming around the street, basically, obviously looking for kids, you know. But they were basically running like a tack, like a plastering school. But it was more of a trade school. It was called Trowel at the time, and basically they took our names and numbers and stuff, and then we got a call. They really sold it, like, you know, because you get a few quid off the tack of the school, so they sold it that way to us. And obviously we're like, yeah, we're interested. And me and a fella, Jake, a friend of mine, we went up and we were going to be bricklayers at the start. So we were gonna build houses and all, you know. And I got up, and another mate of mine, Ryan, was there as well, and we must have been doing it for about a week. And all the plasterers and bricklayers were in the one big class. All the sparks, the electricians, they were in a different class. And then the joiners were in a different class. They didn't have enough for painters, so I think they scrapped that, and tailors scrapped that.
Who needs painters, man? Sorry, painters.
That's it. They'll probably all leave now. But so basically,
carry on, mate.
So basically, the mate Ryan, he was going to be a plasterer. I knew him from school. He was going to be a plasterer because his uncle was a plasterer.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough.
Yeah.
But a weekend, there was in the class there was basically 3 plasterers, and the rest were bricklayers, like 24 bricklayers.
Right.
And I was thinking, is this a good idea? You know, you sort of start to think yourself, play a numbers game. Plasterers plaster the houses, bricklayers build them, and start to play a numbers game. You're like, there's going to be more houses than there is plasterers to plaster. So started to think that way. And then my uncle, he done plastering and stuff too, and he says, don't be being a bricklayer, it's bad for your back, be a plasterer. I don't know what he was thinking there. I think he was actually having a private joke.
Because I think most of the time they say a bricklayer only has to pick up one brick at a time, so...
so he said, don't be a bricklayer. He says, because you're tall, you'll hurt your back and all. He says, be a plasterer, you'll be really good doing this and stuff. He says, and he says it'll be brilliant, you know. And so his idea was, I was going to do my back end if I was a bricklayer, so I get back into the class, and the more I thought about it, was like, there's no point being a bricklayer, there's too many already.
Yeah.
And so I jumped ship, so they end up being like 5 of us were plasters, and the other like end up 30 bricklayers or something.
Right,
so sort of that was the way that gets started. Nothing. Always obviously wanted to do something with my hands. Anyway, even when I was in school, I thought, I'm not going to sit in an office.
No.
Really,
well, I liked the idea of bricklaying, but it meant maths, mate, and I thought, well, forget it.
Yeah.
And the plastering seemed like not so much maths involved, if any.
Until you start, until you get a job, and they're like, what's that per meter? And,
like,
oh no.
So I'll let you know tomorrow.
I still don't really even. I don't like that way, because the problem with meters is if you give somebody a meter price and then you get the job and there's all nibs and cupboards and reveals, and it's like you can't make money, you know. I haven't
done meterage work for years, and I've been doing domestics for years now, so it's not a good idea anyway on those. You know, you work out, say your size of your rooms, you know how long something's going to take you, and you can calculate it fairly well, can't you, and give people a fixed price on it. So,
how many times do you go to a job and they're like, "Do you need a measuring tape or anything?" And you're like, "No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bags." You're like, "How do you know how much?" And you're like, "I know how far it goes."
Yeah, I've been doing it a while.
That's the way. Yeah, that's sort of the way that works, like. But back on to it was kind of funny too, because when obviously I sort of always maintained that in the tax that in the schools you don't really learn it there, you learn it on the job. So obviously me and a couple of other ones were all busting to get out on the sites and stuff. And I got a placement. And obviously being 16, I actually was quite fit and stuff and strong enough for that age. Played a lot of football, did a bit of boxing training and stuff. Boxing as well. So I sort of was physical enough to do it. But obviously the first week was like, whoa, this is different, like, you know. But especially getting up that early, like I always would have been up early. But that was like, whoa, getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go and be somewhere for 6:30 and go to work. I was tiring too.
Mate.
But the first placement, I was promised sort of they'll give you minimum wage. I was promised minimum wage, and being young, you were calculating that up. Going, this is going to be good money, like you know, minimum wage for 16. And I was like, oh, it's going to work out good money. And I worked with these guys. I think it was, I think it used to be like a BBC radio place. It was all apartments. And I get put into this big massive squad. It was in Belfast, Stranmillis. It was called a real, like you couldn't buy a house down there. It's like
expensive.
It's a place just up front, very, very expensive. It's probably the most expensive area in the whole of Belfast. And we were in doing apartments. And I'd never met the boss because he had all these squads of teams of plasters. I ended up in with the skimming team. So they wouldn't, they didn't sort of, weren't showing me very much. I was learning the mix and stuff. Already learned that in the tack before they sent us out. And nothing too major. A bit of scaffolding, a bit of plasterboarding, a bit of mixing. You learned all this in about a week, and then they started trying to get us all placements and out in the real world. And must have worked there for a week, and I remember saying to the guy he was more or less the boss. He was driving the van and stuff. I was like, "What about money? How's it work?" He's like, "Oh, has he not been down to see you?" I was like, "No." He goes, "Well, it's a long week anyway." And I was like, "Right, okay." Got to the next week. And same thing happened Friday. He was like, "Has he not been down to see you?" And I was like, "I'm not coming back here." It was two weeks. I think we had 2 days off for tax. So it was like 6 days of. It was a bit boring because they weren't letting me actually do anything. They didn't obviously,
trust you, mate,
you're only a kid, and it really exactly. There was no trust. I was kind of mixing wet walls, cleaning, all the usual stuff, but I was still thinking, what's the guy to pay? So he never ever showed up, and I get back to placement and just said, look, this guy's never showed, and the tutor was like, right, I'll have to get you a different placement. And I just thought, I've just been done in there, like, but so eventually I was kind of thinking myself, sure you probably heard yourself, one of the main things to being a tradesman is don't get ripped off. So I was thinking that was a very bad start, like, and then the tutor, he drew around sites, and he had like 3 of us in the back of the car with him. And he was driving around all the sites, and he was running in, and he was running back out, and he was going to one, right, you're starting here on Monday with such and such and such and such. And then he said the other one, and then he got and his place wasn't too far away from me. And he says, you're starting with Mark Ray, you call the fella. He says, like, Sparky's really good, like, you'll learn loads off him, stick with him. And I was like, right, it sounds good. So, first week with him, obviously, straight away with the threats and all, if you're cheeky and all, and standing up the scaffold, he straight away, if you're a cheeky boy,
Yeah, because you were young, mate, weren't you? I started when I was about 24, before I even...
That's straight away. He was just straight into the threats. If you're cheeky to me, you're out the door. Well, he actually said worse than that. Like, but I think so, like, mate. You keep not afraid of you,
for the channel.
That's it. But it got Freddie, and he came up with a bit of money, and I thought, phew, something's real, because I was telling him, I told him about the other squad. He's like, what? Like, who does that? Like, but then it was funny too. 'Cause weeks later, they were asking people back as well, and I was like, well, sure, they didn't pay me, so and the guy still never showed up, and I think the tutor was still chasing. It was funny, like it was one of the ones you're going to shelf it. I'm at the right thing here, all together. But stuck with Sparky for a good long time, and he was very, even to this day, him and the other guy that worked there, I still don't understand how they were able to do so much work to such a high standard. I'm still baffled by it. I don't know what they were doing different.
How long did it take before you got on the tools and doing a proper bit of spreading? Rather than just being a kind of labourer?
So basically, in between in between that, as I said, my uncle was a plasterer. He brought me out a couple of weekends. He bought me a hop and trowel.
Yeah.
And he let me plaster. I mixed to him. He did the most, and he let me do wee bits and pieces on. There's a couple of refurbs and some stuff over plasterboard and stuff. So he actually sort of. I think if it wasn't for him there, I think my head was probably going down, you know. So the uncle, I think between my dad and my uncle, he brought me in and he was giving me a few quid and stuff, and I've started to pick things up, you know, just even with a couple of days with him, and then in with Sparky. That was a funny thing. The very first thing that did was carrying. The very first tool I held was the scratching float for him, and he showed me what to do, and I was doing it, and it was like, this is weird plastering. This is what I'm used to, taking stuff off and used to putting it on. So because they had it on before, and we were all scraping it down. And he was like, "Can you use a hop and trowel? Oh, do you have a hop and trowel?" And I was like, "I have Marshall Town hop and trowel." And I can throw it on. I was like, I can throw it on, and I can trowel it up and all. Here's me, like, I can't do anything big, like, but you know, I'll be able to get it on. Help you that way, and I can mix and all, and sell myself. And then we're in, and we're starting a new house, obviously, and it's floating. And I put the stuff on the hawk, and it's went straight off. Like,
it's part for the course, mate.
It's on the ground there. So it was like, sand cement is a different. It's not bonding their skin. It doesn't stick to your.
And it don't stick to your
tools,
hawk, mate, does it?
So it was like, whoa! And then he was like, "What are you even doing? Get up there and start putting it on the wall. Just get it on." Yeah. So you know, they were on the grip. They had 5 days to get in there the houses. So basically, I was on the tools with him from day one. That was the good thing. Where all the mates in the tack, most of them, like you said, they were all just labourers. Yeah. Some of them were getting a wee bit more money, and they were coming in and were saying how much money they were getting. Yeah. Well, they're getting more than me. But then I was thinking, but I'm learning. What are they going to be able to do? And within a couple of months, I think any young guy is keen to learn. Yeah. And they're in with anybody who's keen to teach, you will sort of progress very quickly. Yeah. Yeah. So that was all the real. And to be honest, I really did want to learn. I wanted to get out of the tack as quick as possible and into the, progress as quickly as possible, because
so where did it go from?
You don't want to stay at the bottom.
Where did it go from there, mate?
Where did it go?
I've got to see where you are now and what you're doing and how you're working. And I'm thinking, well, there's a massive gap there. Fill it in, man. Fill it in.
Well, so with him, obviously, for quite a long time. And honestly, the guy done things like he could do screen, and basically all my screen came from labouring to him. Yeah. I could have brought in so many meters, and he could put it down quicker than I could get it into him, which to me is, again, like I say, I can't understand how he was able to stay. It's like I've done screen, even small floors, and the guys, if we have it ready mixed, they have it in on top of you. You have to tell them slow down, you get it down and finished and straight. But he was like, me and him, 2 ground floor houses by 3 o'clock on the way home, cleaned up. That's how quick he was, you know.
I have seen two guys that just do floor screening. This is going back years, and they had the huge straight edges and levels with them, and they would literally, and they were mixing it themselves in a mixer. It wasn't. And I was told that mixing and dry mixing the mixer don't go well, but they did this, and they bashed out this flat, and the floor was a good thickness, and they just seemed to. They didn't even seem to do any screeds. They just. Well, they did, but they just kind of waxed them down, and they've got these huge chunks of wood, and they're doing this, and what seemed like 5 minutes later, they're this perfectly flat floor that looked amazing. And like you say, you kind of think, wow, how'd you do that?
When I'm doing, to be honest, I don't like doing big ones. Every time I've done anything big, when it comes to screed, 2 days later my back goes, and I end up with a sore back for weeks, you know. So I've always put it down to the stretching. Where, like, honestly, he could have did 2 full houses, ground floors, bang bang, and you're way home at 3 o'clock. Nice handy day, and even now I'm going, how would he manage to do that? But and again, a brilliant finish, like looked like glass the way that the light hit it and stuff. Yeah. So that's the kind of guy. Like, he did boxing training as well, and I was doing boxing and all. So I think he was still, like, he used to train people holding pads, and I think he had loads of Irish champions and stuff under him. But basically, I think, you know, he had the speed, but he had the quality too. And there's another big guy with him too, Parksy. And then Parksy's brother used to do all the mixing guy. So I think they were all close friends, you know.
Yeah.
I was probably the young outsider, you know, that they were just sort of willing to get the back used out of him. I don't know what way their real mindsets were towards me, you know, get the mule in, you know.
But you still do. I mean, as I've got older, I'm obviously you're still quite a young guy. As I got older, when I was still quite young, I decided I'm not screeding, I'm not floor screeding, I'm not doing any kind of cornice work. And in more recent years, it was kind of like I've given up rendering because I don't want to be outside in the rain or get rained off on jobs. If I can get all indoor work, then it's not going to be rained off. And so generally, man, I float and I set and I'll do internal rendering, and occasionally for some people that beg me, I do a little bit of rendering outside. But I kind of keep it easy for myself. But you still seem to cover all the things, including like tiling and that stuff I've seen on your videos where you like make the sand and cement look like brickwork. The only time I did a bit of that to do like pretend block work with sand and cement was when I was doing the college stuff. And from that day, I don't think I've ever really done it. But when I've seen some of your stuff where you do the bricks, and they look like bricks to me, mate, you know, I think, wow, that's good. And I'm thinking, how's he getting the colours of the, you know, the cement so it looks like it's bricks, and the mortar's a different colour and all the rest of it. But which obviously by watching your videos you find that out. But you seem to do a pucker job on those, mate. But you've obviously got to that stage quickly.
It's funny.
A long time.
I think quite enough. I think with like I say, with the guy that I was learning from, really, like when we started, he was doing the K-Rain and we were cutting out V's.
Right.
And I think I was one of them kids. I just keep asking questions.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to look silly. I just ask the questions. Why? He's probably sick listening to me, so he gave up and he was telling me all the answers. Yeah, so it was basically like even the mixes, you know, why are we doing it this way? What was it for? How? So
you must have drove the
like
poor man mad.
But sometimes I think, you know, sometimes that might be a wee bit of flattery too, because he has the knowledge and you know, maybe made him feel good. I don't know. I imagine probably did, because he knew all the answers. You know, anything I asked him, he had the answers. You know, and you know yourself. Sometimes people give you answers that don't sound right, but everything he seemed to say, it's like, how does he know so much? Even when it came to like the way windows were supposed to be fitted, and all, he seemed to know.
How old was the guy?
See, it was just the funny thing. This is the funny thing. When I joined him, I thought he was an old man, but thinking back to it now, he was probably only 30 odds, you know?
Yeah, when you're young,
30s,
and I think, that old geezer, and he's like 25 or 30.
Yeah, I think I actually said that to my dad. He's old, and my dad, one time, he's like, he's the same age as me, you know? But I think that was the plastering must have made him look that bit older than my own dad, you know? But, but basically, like I say, he on that site, that K-Rain, most of the guys in the TAC and other plasterers I met were sort of all baffled by the K-Rain, you know, and a wee bit intimidated by it. Where I was learning it straight away, and was learning the inside, the floating set stuff, sticking on beads with bomb and stuff. He was sort of showing everything, and then when we ran out of that site,
so outside, were you doing sand, cement and K-Rain rendering?
We were doing some of the walls got sand and cement. It was strange. I think towards the end of that site, they must have been trying to save money, so they started doing like the backs with sand and cement and painting them instead of, because I think even then K-Rain was like 13 quid a bag, so that's like 20 odd years ago. So still very dear. Yeah. And the way I learned that was I was actually putting it into the mixer. We were putting like 6 bags in per mix. Yeah. And the bricklayer walked past. I think he was like the head of all the bricklayers, and he was like, "Oh, you think that stuff was cheap the way you're throwing it about?" I was like, "What's he talking about?" I was only a kid and mixed it like mad. I went up and he's like, "Why is he shouting that over?" And he was like, "No, it's really expensive stuff. It's 13 quid a bag." I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's when you realise.
And we were putting it on like, we were putting it on so thick, like, you know, because it had to be cut with V's. You know, the V cuts into it. Yeah. I think I did a wee video on it before where I showed the tool. It was funny. Refina had the tool. I think it's called an Ashlar cutter, and you can put all different blades onto the end of it. You know, if you wanted a half round cut, they have that. If you want the V, they have the V. If you want a square, you can turn it around and use the back as a square cut. So But it took me so long. I remember talking to people about this, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, I don't know, we just called it the V cutter, you know.
Yeah.
But Refina actually had it, and I was able to get it on the channel, sort of show it a wee bit. So like we were doing things like that, and basically because I was so hungry and eager to learn and earn as well, I basically said to the guys, like, if you get any Homer jobs on,
Yeah.
I'll be happy to go. I'll be happy weekends. I'll do some nights and all. And like that's where I picked up wet dash and stuff. He started doing wee jobs and all. And we were going and we were be conservatives doing wet dash and doing plinths, doing all these sorts of things. And then when the site ran out of work, we ended up doing renovation work for a bit. And it was like red brick, so it was a lot of learning how to do scudding, plasterboarding, loads and loads of that there. Done that. I don't know how long I was with him, but basically by the time, even a couple of months in in the site, I remember the tutor came around and he had to take pictures of the work you'd done. And he came in, his name's Jim, and he's like, right, show me the what you've done in this house then, because I was in cleaning up or something, or skimming the cupboard or something. And I was like, right, I did this hallway ceiling, I did the bottom half of this whole room because he was up doing the top halves, and I did this whole cupboard, and he just stood there looking at me like, what, you know. He was quite impressed. He was like, how, you know, I was like, I've just been plastering since I've got here. Just, you know, the only time I was labouring was when the labourer was off drunk or, you know, hungover. That was the only time I was labouring.
Or just weekends.
But the worst about that, Eric, was that would have been every Monday, you know, and basically, but basically, I used to hate it. Because not only did I have to labour, I still had to do the cupboards, and I could never understand that. I was like, how do I have to do all his work and my work still, you know? Yeah. But I suppose I was the fool. I still did it, and I was at that time.
Again, when you're younger, mate, as well, you kind of roll with it.
You just grit your teeth and get stuck in, you know, and you know, it's sort of, you hear them boys talking about such and such was such a great worker, and you're maybe trying to get on that list. I don't know. Or maybe that wasn't even a real list, they were just saying that to make us younger ones work, you know.
I mean, on the labour,
basically. Sorry,
mate, carry on.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, on the labouring front, I'd have a labourer, he'd have a skin full of beer or whatever else, on the weekend, and if he did come in Monday morning, it would look bad, and this is when I first got a whisk as well, so it wasn't a hard job for him. And he would knock up this is why I got rid of a labourer in the end. He'd knock up this big batch for me, so I was good for the next couple of hours, and then you turn around and he's like this on the floor, and he's just sloring away, and I'm thinking, gee, really?
It's no good. You need somebody on their toes, like, you know. It's like a goalkeeper. You need them to be ready when you need them there, you know. They can't be sleeping.
Or putting up beads for you, or doing something, but not gonna mix up a load of gear and then crash out on the floor. You know, and you think, come on, mate, no, this is no good.
It wouldn't class as a good labourer at all.
Hang on, what's Danny put here? Joe, you got skills, my old friend. Got to be one of the best plasterers on YouTube by far. Ah, well, mate, there's a compliment. Flipping hell.
I'll take them. Them. Thank you, Johnny, man.
No, you are good. You are good, mate. You are good. You do, as I say, you do a lot of stuff, and you do it well. Yeah. I kind of think. I mean, I've had no kind of like pretend brickwork to make from sand and cement, but it almost makes me feel like I need to go and do it in my backyard because I feel like doing it. You know, I watch the video and I think, oh yeah, I want to see if I can make render look like bricks or blocks or whatever.
It's quite therapeutic, really. You know what I mean? When you're getting into it.
Yeah.
I actually recently, I think the guy's building a garage. There's a fella, I was working down in Dublin at the time when he wanted me out, and he had some brick effect render done, and he wasn't very pleased with it. Right. We never done it, like, and on the picture it looked okay, but when you got there, you started to understand more of why he wasn't happy.
Right, you know, fair enough.
Certain wee things, you know, and, you know, just basically, I think it's funny too, because it's like tiling. It's all about where you start. You know, you don't tile. You know, when you're tiling a floor, you have to find your center.
Yeah, you just start in the corner there.
Yeah, it's basically a cross. You make a cross when you first start it. Yeah. But even the likes of tiling, like I wouldn't really do tiling unless it's for family or for myself, really, because
Fair enough,
I'm
mate.
too slow at it compared to a tiler, you know.
Yeah.
And then, and I do remember this one builder. He talked me into the tiling floor, and the tiles were really thick.
Yeah.
I think they were called asbestos tiles. Somebody told me.
Blimey, yeah, don't sound,
I'm not sure if
don't
that's
sound
yeah.
good.
No, that was the name of them, but apparently there's no asbestos in them.
Right.
Although when you cut them, they
Hopefully.
had a real nice smell to them.
That's the asbestos.
Don't know if that was bad or not. Probably was. But he basically tortured me to do this job, and I was like, you know, I was like, do you want to plaster the walls first? He's like, no, she wants the tiles done first. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to cover all these tiles up after put them down and plaster the walls.
Yeah.
But he tortured me. He just talked me into it, and I did it. And we were getting to the end of the job. And the big fella that helps me now, he was much younger, and he was helping me. He was doing a lot of cuts and mixing, and I was doing all the laying.
Yeah.
And he had no spacers or anything. I was like, that's okay. I'll make sure I have everything up. I was using straight edges and stuff.
Yeah.
And the woman, I was literally like, had half the kitchen done, and she came in and was like, it doesn't say tiling on your fan. And I was like, no. She's like, are you a plasterer? And I'm like, yeah, but I can tile a floor, like, you know. And there was like these wee sparkly glitter bits in it, and she was not happy with the job.
Right.
Just don't know what it was. Her dad lived in the house, and her husband, and they were both over the moon with it.
Yeah.
And hadn't graded it. And the guy, like, even the builder, it was a bit strange too. I was asking him, we need more diesel. He's like, no, use what you have. And I'm like, but I don't have enough. He's like, you may start dabbing them or something. And I'm like, but that's not going to leave these tiles a good job, although they're thick.
Yeah.
You know, if she drops something, he was like, well, just dab them in. There was like a cupboard part. He was like, dab them in there, and then I'll get you the grout and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's not going good, like. And then like, he phoned me up later that night. She's not happy, and I was like, why? She says, I don't really know. She says there's a couple of this and that and all. I was like, right, okay. And they got them all lifted again. They all came back up, no problem. And a tailor came and he fitted them. And I seen them and I thought, that's the same as the way I done it. You know, it's just like the same. I was like, fair enough. Fair enough. He put on a bigger bed of coat of adhesive, which was funny because the builder wasn't even giving me that option. He says, this is all you're getting. And I thought, right, okay. And he got them all down with credit, and then I was back, plastered the walls in half a day, whatever it was. It was just 3 walls, had them all plastered, covered up, clean away. And I said the builder was like, what was it then? What was the mistake? I don't really know. She was being very fussy. But the way he let it did look better. He says all the glitters and all, they look better and all. And I was like, but on the back of tiles, if there's ever a pattern, on the box or on the tile, it will always give you an arrow. And you have to follow the arrow. So if you ever do anything like that, so it stays the same pattern, you know, so you're not having it all looking funny when it goes down.
Yeah.
And I remember I was doing work for a guy who was tiling the exact same tiles, but they were white. And I remember asking him, I was like, what were you putting them down? And he's like, just put them down. I was like, funny, he was a joiner and he was putting them down. And again, it was a good job that he was doing. And he was the one who told me that they were called asbestos tile as well. And I said, excuse me, they have to go down any particular way. Like, can you notice the pattern like there? He's like, no, not at all. I've completely researched it. They just go down, and that's it. And I was like, I'm glad you said that, you know. But I think it basically boiled down to that was a bit of a sickener of the tiling. But I think it boiled down to it didn't have tiling wrote on the fan. If I had tiling underneath rendering, I think she would have been happy.
Would have been okay
she didn't see tiling, and she thought, you know, gangster doing this.
From a customer perspective, mate, then was she one of your only kind of like bad customer experiences, or have you had any dodgy? Come on, there must be one where you go, oh, there was this job and it was terrible because.
I've had a few. Most people have been dead on. Like, you always hear the horror stories of people getting ripped off, but very seldom really. I've been very fortunate that way.
Yeah, same here.
I've had a couple. I've had a couple. Like, but not enough.
Yeah, nothing kind of major.
I know electricians and all who have been done in really bad. Like, you know, where they work for a company and they supplied all the cable, everything, all the sockets. Yeah, that's and then at the end, the people were like, "Oh, here I went bust. You can have a penny to the pound." And they're like, "That's an £18,000 job I've just done."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Whoa, how do how do you go on from
any
that?
kind
I
of jobs
don't
like
know.
that, mate, where you're outlaying so much money, it's too. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're sensible as a plasterer, depending on what kind of company you work for, if you're working on sites or for big companies, because I did work for a company that went bust while I was working for them back in the 80s or the 90s. And I got paid, but the money started getting more delayed, and then eventually I didn't get all the money I was meant to get. But on domestic jobs, I think I learned from when I went from site work and working for builders to domestic jobs for the customer. As I've told a lot of the guys before, when I quote for if someone wants their whole house doing, I'll give them a quote for every room, and the price for that room, and it says when this room's complete, the money's due. And I'll move on to the next one. So basically what I'm saying to them is I need the money in the bank, and then I'll start the next room. You know, it might not be in there that night. I will be there the next day to start the next one, but they know I'm anticipating payment for the last one, and in that way, if you did lose money, you'd only lose one room's worth of plaster and labour, which is still not nice.
The whole house.
But it's a limited amount rather than doing a whole house for someone, and then it's one of those customers for whatever reason say like I'm not paying. Oh, that was their plan at the beginning, because there are a few. It's rare, but there are a few people that do that, and or ones that just seem to be, I don't know, like your woman with the floor tiles.
Yeah,
just kind of like, that's not written on your van, so I'm not that happy that you've done it.
They're just finding a fault somewhere. Sometimes you get ones like that. There's always going to be faults because plastering's. It hasn't changed much since the Egyptian times.
No, exactly,
so, we're still doing it by our hands. It's basically. So it's like, there's definitely going to be the odd faults and stuff. As long as it's not terrible, it should be. People have to give a wee bit. But I think I watched a video before, and somebody sort of think they messed up, and after that they said the way they start pricing jobs. I don't think they messed it up. I think it was a floor varnishing job he was doing. And he told the customer this isn't the right way to do it, and the customer just kept telling him, do it. And it started to go wrong, and the customer then wasn't paying him, and he was out so much, thousands by the end of it and stuff.
Wow.
But he basically says then, when he goes to price jobs, he calls it expectations, trying to manage their expectations of what they're going to receive, of what the floor is and what it can be, how good it's going to be, so they're not thinking it's going to be like, it's like a brand new floor, it's still an older floor that he's just trying to revamp, really, that way. But I think there's a bit of that in plastering too, but
and plastering is fairly, it's not too, well, I mean, when it comes to even to decorating, and depending on what the people are having, whether if the paper's like £300 a roll or whatever, that would freak me out as a decorator. and that's when you can have issues. But at least with plaster, unless you're doing some of the fancy stuff in the plaster department, you can't go too wrong with someone not expectations, and you can't really. Well, it's good never to over-promise. It's better to under-promise than over-deliver. Anything in life, mate. But
definitely.
Hang on, I just got to took a couple of these questions, and I think I lost some because they've disappeared off my screen already. But what we got there? That's good. What's good advice? Hang on. Someone's just asking me. Oh, Eric, I painted a wall, but I got a damp patch after letting the paint dry. The patch back to the brick, and then plastered again and painted the damp wet patch reappeared. Any ideas what's wrong? No, to be honest with you, I've got a job to pop back to. I've filled some holes in a wall as part of a bigger job, and then put a skim over the whole thing, and everything else in the whole house is dried because this was a couple of weeks ago. These patches I filled in are still dark. So I'm going to pop back tomorrow, actually. Pop round. I said I'll pop in and take a look. It's a bit strange, but sometimes I get that, mate. And they said there was a little bit of white
effluent
salts,
on
was
them,
it?
like the
Is it
salts
soda?
on it or whatever. And I'm thinking, well, why the
Yeah.
hell? There was no damp issue on this part of the wall or anything. So I'm
Yes,
thinking,
yes.
what's happening? But hopefully I'll be able to find out by taking a look at it. But yeah, so on that
Yeah.
front, I don't know. Sometimes you do get issues with something that either is damp or it looks like damp. Or the plaster
Yes.
for some reason, even if it's on an internal wall where there's no damp present anywhere, it just doesn't dry pink. It just dries very dark brown. Then people go, well, is that a stain? It's not dry. And I'm thinking, well, there's no way it can be wet. But hey,
Yeah,
I don't know.
must be maybe like the same depth. I remember funny that exact question that the guys asking sort of did remind me of one of them funny customers.
Yeah.
That I think I was off or was busy during the day, so I didn't hear my phone. And I had a voicemail of a guy that passed me on. This guy, don't be. Why are you not answering my phone call? Something's wrong with the wall or something. And then I phoned him and he's like, look, did you plaster that whole wall? And I was like, yes, I re-skimmed the wall. And I was like, took out I wanted to strip the whole wall back from the brick, re-scud it, just do it all fresh new. But the guy at the house himself, he said, no, just take off the bits that are loose, fill them out and then skim the wall. And I was like, I know, but the wall's not straight.
Yeah.
So somehow he told his friend that basically I'd done the whole wall from start again. And the friend was like, put the levels and stuff on it. It wasn't straight. And I'm like, no, but I only put 3 mil on, I'm not going to get it straight.
Yeah.
But basically what it was, so there was an issue and the fella had said that plaster had popped off. And I was like, that's very strange. It doesn't usually happen, And I thought, right. So he was going to decorate the whole room. But I got to the job anyway. Had a look around. I said, we hadn't painted the ceiling or any of the other walls, but the wall I plastered was all painted. And it had these 3 ugly big patches on it.
Yeah.
Oh, what's happened there? And I said, what has happened? He's like, the bits there, they didn't paint very well. And I was like, right, okay. So I went over with a knife and started cutting around them. And as I started cutting into it, I was like, what's the white stuff? What's the white stuff? And I picked off all that, and my skin was still on it. And I thought, I had to call the guy back. I mean, look, what's going on? Because you told me you popped off, but there's white stuff on top of my plaster that is still there. And then he goes, he let it out then. He says, no, when he was painting it, the paint came off. And I thought,
right.
So, okay, this is a different story altogether now. And I thought, when did he paint it? And he says, oh, my brother's a painter. I left it for a month. And I thought, oh, I don't know about this,
He painted it when you went
So,
home.
But the funniest thing was, it was like he literally skipped out all the other walls of the whole room and the ceiling and just went straight for the nice clean wall and painted it. And what had happened is, like person says, he said it kept going grey, and I think painters call that mapping or matting.
Yeah.
But I think basically what that is, there's moisture still in the wall, and it just so happened that the 3 parts that happened was the bits that we had sat cement out. So it was the depth of the plaster, probably just took that much longer to dry.
Yeah.
But he just painted it anyway, and I was just thought, why didn't you stop? Even after the first coat, if you stop and leave it for another week, you can come back and paint it, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I've done it sort of in a wee house with the sisters in, chipped the bottom off and a couple of bits of that, sort of did the mapping. And I just went, right, I'll not paint anymore, I'll leave it for another week, and came back and I painted fine. So I think what his brother got was all the paint started peeling off in them areas, and he kept painting it, and then it's peeling off again, then he started filling it and painting it. I just thought, this is crazy,
just end up a complete and utter mess, mate, that you can't do nothing about. But the whole thing when you kind of scraping back and leaving, and then probably, having to skim over the whole lot again. One of the guys has asked if you, because I'm a PVA man. Blue grit and green grit and all that didn't exist when I was plastering for a long time, and so I use neat. I mean, sometimes I get slated for it, but I've done it for donkey's years, and it's never caused me a problem. I use neat PVA, cheap PVA, but neat PVA. I whack it on, I let it dry completely, and then I do my skimming. A lot of the guys are kind of blue grit, green grit, and they. One of the guys wants to know what your view is on the blue grit, green grit stuff, or PVA. What do you reckon? What are your views on it?
I do have I should have actually already uploaded this video. I have some footage of it. Basically, had 2 disasters with it. Absolute disasters. Funny we're talking about disaster hubs, but basically the grit, the 2 ceilings we did, dropped, which is and
What,
again
the
even
that you
that.
gritted?
Yes,
Is that a blue one or a green one, or you can't remember?
I think they were green.
Right.
I think they were green, but I have repaired other people's work that was blue on walls.
Right.
Not ceilings, on walls.
Yeah.
So to me, I think PVA is superior. I think it's.
I can only but
I think
agree
it's
with you,
superior.
brother.
You know, I do, and again, that's from of all my time plastering. I've had like 2 issues where plaster fell off to do with PVA, and one was heating pipes behind the wall,
Yeah.
and the amount came off was the size of your hand.
Yeah.
And I said to the guys, I was like, look, I'll replaster this whole wall. It wasn't a big wall, it was only the side of a chimney breast
Yeah.
that had popped, and there was, you could, even when you put your hand to it, it was warm. So it was either, it must have been a pipe because there was a sink on the other side. So I think the pipe was jacked up and in.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, just patch it, we're happy, we'll paint. So I just put it out, patched it, painted. After that, other one happened with PVA where a guy cut this huge fan into the ceiling and he shook some off. Again, that wasn't a hard fix, it was just cut it back and tidy it up really. But out of like all the jobs I've done with PVA, they were like the 2 seldom jobs. With grit, them 2 jobs that fell, basically the whole ceiling came right back off to the grit. And it's funny because all the plasterers I always talk to, you know, in person, mates and stuff, they're all like, must have been dust on the ceiling, did the grit come off? They're like, no. And they're like, was there grease? And they're like, no, but the grit's still if there was there. Grease, the grit's on top of it, and like the grit is still there. And some of the grit came off the plaster, but not like it's. If I put my knuckles across that, I'm gonna know, you know, there's grit on it.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't know. What was your mix like? What was the bags like? And I'm brand new stuff. I wasn't messed about feeling like, you know.
No, yeah.
And they're like, did you put anything in it? They're like, no, like I literally never do any of that stuff, you know. So to me, it's gotta be PVA. Like I like it when it's tacky, you know, when it's nice and sticky.
Yeah, I mean,
going over it.
It's meant to. Well, I say it's meant to be. It was kind of like, put your PVA, water it down a bit, put your PVA on. Once it starts to get a bit tacky, do your skimming. Which initially, when I started out, that's what I used to do. But I found the only times I ever had issues with, in the winter mostly, with sliding. Like, so I've got my skim up, and I'm thinking, this is looking good, and then suddenly I see this crack, and my skim's doing this.
Yeah.
And that has only ever happened to me when I've gone on tacky PVA, and the PVA is starting to, it's just not doing. The PVA is sliding, or it's sliding on the PVA, and after that, when I put something on, when I put it on neat and I've left it, I've never had any kind of sliding issues since. And it used to, the sliding used to bug me, and I'm thinking. I've had the sliding on certain jobs. I tend to always blame that on. I used to think that there was still wallpaper paste on the wall. I used to blame that on because when you felt it was like it was going sticky, but not the same way. Like some of the walls would have been bare walls too, so I still used to think. I think there was wallpaper paste on that wall, which again, still sort of our fault because it's like, well, it is and it isn't. It's like how would you know until you start, you know? But basically, maybe we should be running a wee bit of sandpaper over it all, on a sand pole or something, just to take open up the surface a bit more, so the PVA gets back to the original skin. But again, sometimes you don't know these things till you are you done the whole room. It's one wall starts doing this, and you're like, this is really strange, you know? Everything else is done the same, which was another funny thing on them 2 jobs when the ceilings went. One of them actually had a beam up the middle, but the other ceiling didn't come off, but that one did. And the kitchen again, you know, the one did. None of the walls came off, and they were all gritted. It was like very strange. On the smaller ceiling that came off as well, the back part, there was a bit I couldn't get it off, and I remembered back and I was going, it was left. So the original kitchen went up as a cupboard right tight to the ceiling, so it had never ever been painted. Right.
So I put that down to suction. The suction went through the grit and held that on. So it's, you know, it's going to yourself. Although the grit is supposed to be for low suction areas, you know, glass tiles, you know, glassy gloss, you know, they say that it keys that. So,
but I was told if you need some kind of grit in it, to put like kiln dried sand into your PVA. And again, I've said before that I've done a porcelain sink for someone that I rendered it with sand and cement that they wanted as a planter in the garden, and I said, well, technically this should work. I'm going to put some neat PVA with some sand in it on the sink,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I'll render it. And worked a treat
Yeah.
mate, and that render wasn't coming off the porcelain.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I thought, and fit the grits and these other things that come out, they're just too expensive. You know, I just think that's a lot of money when you could buy PVA. And I buy the cheapest PVA I can get, mate, is £8 to £10 for a gallon, 5 litres. And I think I'm going to start paying 20-30 quid for stuff.
I know, and upwards as well. There's one PVA there. It almost caught us out on a job. It's in a yellow tub. Is it Sika or something? Sika?
Something like that, mate. I think. Yeah.
Silka. Yeah. But it goes on. If you actually read the back of that one, see, this is why I hate talking about PVA on the channel, because you don't want nobody to get mixed up with what you're saying. But basically, that one says on the back to go 100% pure with that. You can't water it down.
Yeah.
First time we came across it, the guy came and he delivered them off, and he's like, "Oh, it's the PVA," and we dumped it in, and we went 50-50 mix and PVA the scene, and it just wouldn't set. And I was like, "Give me that." I started reading it, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I had to put it on pure. So as soon as we put it all on pure, straight away, within 15 minutes, it was all going nice and sticky.
Right.
Bond and skin, no problem. So I think that one, for anybody learning and DIYers, I think that one's the key one to use, because you can't go wrong if you don't mix it. You know, just put it on pure, and it is strong. It's worth a treat anytime we've used it. But again, like you say, the problem with that is you're not diluting it, so it's only going half as far as the B&Q, you know, PVA, no nonsense one. You know, it's only going to go half as far as that one. So, but again, like, you know, it works a treat too. But I don't know. Did you ever watch that? Get that one? Is it, what's it called? Super Evo PVA. You ever see that? It has the red lid.
Oh, like the Evo stick brand, is it?
Yeah. Yes. Somewhere along.
There's about 50 quid in it.
It's really dear. It is really dear. But somewhere along the line, they've changed the ingredients or something, because I'm convinced. I must dig it out. I think I have a video where I actually read the back of it. Yeah. But I was convinced that it was like a 50-50 mix. But it was that strong when you painted it on, it just took forever to actually take up. Right. But see, reading it now, it says 3-1, and you go, oh, it's still strong. It's, you know, it's 3 PVA, but it's not. It's 3 water, 1 PVA at once. Yeah. Which is like, you know, okay, something's weird here, you know. You know, sorry, 3 PVA, 1 water at once. They want you to, you know, it's nearly pure you're putting on. It's like, it's, you know, where did they change it? You know, I don't know whether they did or didn't, or maybe, you know, I've been using it wrong the whole time. I don't know, or I've been reading it wrong. But I noticed they changed. It's funny too, because they changed the thistle balding. Have you noticed that? The set times on thistle.
I haven't noticed. What a difference!
Yeah, they've put it up there. It says on the back of the bag 3 to 4 hours now.
No, I never read the bags, man. I haven't read a bag for years.
I know.
That's
the thing. That's it, because they're changing things on you and you don't know, you know. So, I don't know, they must have took some ingredient out that cost money. I reduced it and thought, well, put a bit less in, you know. Yeah. A bit less of them crystals to set that off, you know. But basically, when we use the thistle over here, I do a lot of them stipple sealings and scrape bond and skin. Yeah. And normally, by the time I have that bonded straight keyed up, go out, get my lunch, come back in, it's ready to skin. Yeah. But there was a job we were doing, like, oh, it's as soft as, right, we'll go back out, we'll sit, there's something there, we'll start cleaning up. But we were there, like, honestly, we had it done by 10, mixed on the ceiling by 10 o'clock, and it still hadn't fully set by about 3 o'clock. Wow. So, I was like, it was only then, the next time I bought B&Q, you know, the thistle bond, I read it, and I was like, we've changed the time, surely. I think it used to be up to 2 hours, it's set. Right. And so they've basically doubled or reduced whatever they put in. I was like, why did they not put that on the front of the bag? You know, extra workability time or something. You know,
are you using the old pure finish over there as well? Because it's not. I don't really see it much here, but according to Mark, he's they seem to be using it all the time on their jobs. Yeah,
is that the one that they've just brought out there, is it?
No, that's the fastest set one, I think, that they've just brought out. But this is ultra finish. He has put the ultra finishes a lot slower too to go off. So
yeah. Yes.
Out of curiosity, mate, yes. Joel Cook, Renovate Plastering, he says, "Where are you from, Mac?" Can you not tell?
Just outside Belfast.
It's just outside Belfast. I'm guessing you've always lived around. Have you always lived in and around Belfast, or have you come from a different part of Ireland?
Well, no, always in Belfast really, and then moved up into the country, and then moved out even more so there recently.
So you're a little bit rural now, where you are.
I'm a bit more rural now. Yeah,
it takes long to get into Belfast.
No, half an hour to Belfast, so it's handy, like. But I was talking to a guy from Dublin. He's like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Belfast." He's like, "What part?" And I was like, "Why? How do you not know?" He's like, "No, you don't sound like you're from Belfast." And I was like, "Oh, I'm about half an hour." He's like, "Oh, you're from the countryside of it then?" And I was like, "My accent." So my accent must have changed already, you know.
It must have done, mate.
Hopefully for the better. I don't know.
Who knows?
I do get a good few comments. People asking what language is he speaking. Like, your guess is as good as mine, mate.
I get that. I get. There's a few people, if you're still listening, Joel, that think I have not terrible, but a very strong sort of bit of a Cockney South London accent, which technically, I suppose, because I've lived here all my life, I have. But like with most people, it sounds normal to me, mate.
I worked so sometimes it sort of goes to the brick effect, but I've worked on a few film sets and stuff as well.
Oh, right.
So
that sounds exciting,
like plastering the film sets. Yeah. But a lot of the guys come from London, believe it or not, that are they're fibrous plasters. They've been doing courses and stuff. That's real. They're real good at it, you know. And a couple of guys come from there, like. But things like that, there, you know, it gives you a different look of plastering. It's like a completely new thing altogether, you know, when you're in around them people, like, and they're very good at that side. But it's funny too, because a lot of them, like, there was one fella in particular, Mark, and he's like, "I don't know how you do sans, man." He's like, "How could you do that every day?" And he's like, "I couldn't do that," because he just, you know, he's used to making molds, you know, put paint, you basically splashing in and stuff. And he's like, "I'll never do sans, man." He said he's too much hard work. I mean, it's definitely like the fibrous plastering with the molds and all that stuff. The guys that generally either do what we do with the solid stuff, or they do that. I know some guys do a bit of both. I was taught how to do both, but I never really enjoyed trying to make the stuff. I enjoyed it at college because you had all day to do something. If a customer says, "Oh, can you try and copy this for me, so it looks like it matches the old one?" I was kind of like, well, I can try. But we've been asked to do a good lot recently, but the problem is with the price of it. See, like, if you're trying to replicate something, the materials you need, it's silicone, and to buy it's ridiculous price. So by the time they get a price, they're just like, no, you know. So that's fair enough. Like, and I think that is sort of today's problem as well with it, that only certain houses are going to keep that kind of work going because of the money factor. People might like it, but when they get the price, it's like, we don't need it, you know that kind of way. So
a lot of cornice work is expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the guys that do it are good, because I mean, a lot of the work I've seen, it's still literally okay. Even when it's moulded on a bench and they bring it in and fix it up, there's no internal or externals, and they're doing them all freehand. And I've seen the guys do them, and then when they're finished, beautiful. And it doesn't seem to take them any time at all. But that's all they're doing. Day in, day out. If they had to mess about doing solid plastering and walls and rendering, it just wouldn't be as good, mate. Like anything else, if you're rendering all the time, or you're pebble dashing all the time and not doing any kind of internal stuff, then you're going to fly through that kind of work. Whereas when you're doing both, although you can still be obviously good at both, just like anything else, I think if you specialise in something, you just
lose speed up. That's it. See, the mate of mine, he sort of really wanted to get into it, but his problem here was that there's, in my opinion, there's already a few companies that are really big. Like, they're so big that they, like, even on the smaller jobs, they could just undercut you. You know, they'll have so much stuff made up already, and they could be like, right, well, you know, you wanted this, and they can do that. You know, so I think that's where you know, when you're starting from scratch, you need to make a mold to do it. You sort of have to. You either have to take that hit and try and get that over 5 jobs back, or you charge the customer and you don't get the job. So it's a hard balance to get into, I think, as well.
Yeah,
that way.
I mean, you need to have some professionals out there that can do it when they refurb these old places or a castle burns down or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
But you know, how often does that happen? It's happened
true.
a few times, but and I'd love to watch some of the stuff that they do to make it look like it was from the 16th century. I just find fascinating. I'd love to be able to just go at the time and the money to just go and watch people that do that, doing it in those kind of buildings and seeing how it's done and how they do it. Saying that, there's a lot of plastering now that houses I go into, I'll walk into a room and the ceiling, it curves everywhere, curves down, curves into a chimney breast. So everywhere down, it goes down to like a low pitch rail, but everything's curved, and the whole street they're all like that. And I'll do one for a customer, and it's such a pain, and I've charged a lot of money to do them, and even halfway through I'm thinking, I wish I hadn't done this. It's such I get it's the only time I ever get neck ache, and have to mess about with where two kind of curves come into each other, and you kind of think there's not a trowel that goes in this curve. And I'm thinking, how did they used to do it back when they did a whole street like it, and they all look exactly the same? Then the cement was more like cement-based plaster. It was a lot heavier, but I still don't know what technique they used. And then just go, tell you what, guys, let's just keep it flat and square. But the way that, I don't know if it's just the plasters or the technique, but I can't find any kind of old. There probably is no kind of videos or even film of guys doing it back in whenever it was, to see how it was done, which frustrates me a little bit.
You know, it could have been a mold and they've just skimmed to it and feathered it in.
Could have been
really well.
Yeah, could have been. You know, didn't think of that.
You know, they've just made a mold for them angles, fitted them, and feathered it in there. You know, and skimmed.
Right, so they've done they've stuck all the moulded angles up, possibly out of like a casting plaster style. And then they've just done it, you say, just
swiped in.
Yeah.
But there's a couple here, but there wouldn't be. They're rounded down to the thing, but I think like some of them would have been ran. They would have muffled them out. It's muffled out where you build it out, and they would have ran that in the bonding and then skimmed that. But I think what you're saying sounds different. It sounds a wee bit different, where they might have had something made up that way. But it's strange too, because they must have had more time back in the day compared to what we do. You know, most times you go into a house or something, people either want you in or out, or if you're on a site, you have to be in and out. That the money only works out for so many days, so you just have to get it done. You know?
I think it was something to do with the fact they all wore shirt and ties, mate. Back then, the plasterers and the foremen wore bowler hats and all that. I mean, I'm not that old. But I've definitely seen the footage of it. And my father-in-law, he's 90 something, and he was a chippy and a clerk of works and all that kind of stuff. And he not so much now, but he would kind of, when he's gardening, he'd like shirt and tie, flat cap. You know, and that's how the guys went to work. I mean, the tradesmen, they did look like tradesmen.
Everybody now wears
suit, like,
everybody just wears a hoodie. That's all I ever wear. A hoodie and a tracksuit bottoms.
Yeah, with your name on the back, of course. Don't forget.
Have to get the names on.
Jumping away a bit, mate. The old YouTube channel. How did that all start? What even inspired you to go? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna start. I'm not that busy. I'm going to start filming what I'm doing.
I don't know about that there, but basically, it sort of was on my own. Basically, when it sort of first happened. So I was working for the guy Sparky. I left him, went for a bigger payday off another guy.
Yeah.
And sort of excelled then. I sort of was like calling the shots a wee bit more, you know. And within a year with him, it was like I was sort of in charge of a squad for him, if you want to sort of say. And then I did that for a while, and then I actually went back to Sparky. I went back the way and picked up things with him. And then after that, there it was like it's time for me to just do my own thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I launched the channel. I think I launched it sort of I thought it might have been a way to advertise and get my name out there and a way at the start.
Yeah, I think initially quite a few guys just go, I'll just kind of put a video up like an advert, and that's all I'll do, and I'll leave it.
That's what I did, and I thought, because YouTube has always been big in America, and I used to see people from America doing big ads and getting lots of views, and actually like, people asking, do you cover this area and all? And I thought, well, maybe that's the way to go. So I did that and did the Facebook and made up cards and stuff. And I think it ended up, it was me and another fella. We tried to go out and do it, but we were just getting scraps. You know, it's hard to get your name in the door. People don't know you. You know, we were driving past houses that had blocks built out their garden, and we were out their doors saying, "Do you want a plaster?" Do you know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing we were doing. And he then went with these other fellas and started working with Emmons, and then I was like, sure, thought we were going to do our own thing, you know. And he's like, I know, but this is constant work. And we fell into them until that big recession. And then that was it. I was like, I'm not working for nobody ever again. I'm just going to do my own thing, you know. I had enough of sort of being told what to do, you know. Even when you're working, you're still working for somebody, but at least you're working for less people, if that makes sense. You haven't got that many bosses above you. So sort of, and then I think I did more of the YouTube then, and again I just thought it's free advertising. Why not? Why not try it?
Don't cost anything.
And then I just found people just kept asking questions about how did you do that? Or, what about the stilts like? And I just sort of, over time, it sort of grew and grew and grew that way. And I just thought, you know, I was enjoying talking to other plasters and how they're getting on and stuff as well. This is brilliant, you know. So just kept going that way. Like. But funny again too, the Mac Plastering itself, my sister actually, I think she set up everything. She set it up at the start.
Set it up for you at the time.
She created the name. I don't know what I would have called it, you know. I was just like, why'd you pick Mac Plastering? I don't know, your name, your second name. I was just like, okay, I'll just stick with it then, you know. And then there's like we were saying previous there, technology, I wasn't great at setting things up and, you know, putting, you know, all the details in and stuff. So she set it all up, and then I sort of started it. And again, the wee brother, I remember before YouTube was really even big, you know, as it was sort of starting. You know, wee brother's much younger than me, but I remember we actually sat and we talked about it, and we're like, before they had AdSense or anything, and we were like, you want to be big for people? Like, it was very strange, because even I was sort of, well, I always think about it, and it's like, if we had a sort of did something then, who knows where we would have been now with YouTube, you know, that way.
I mean, it's easy to...
We were like, it's easy to say that, but the fact that we were like, he used to talk about, why don't we do prank videos? And I was like, and he's like, why don't we dress up? I'll film you dress up as some Star Wars character and scare somebody going into a shop, you know, stand there still and scare somebody going into a shop, and you're like, I don't know, we could end up arrested for something like that, you know, we were kids and all, you know. And saying these crazy things. But see now, when you look at it now, like, you know, that fella Jake Paul and all, it's
people do
how
that,
they started.
I mean, some of them drive me mad, mate, if I'm honest. Some of them are quite funny, but the ones, I don't understand are the ones that they make some video that's meant to be interesting. It's going to be at least 10 minutes long, and they just want you to watch the whole thing. And basically, by the end of it, you realise it's just a load of old rubbish. But the whole idea is you watch it, or if you're sensitive, if you watch it at all, you skim through it to the end, because when you click down, you think, hang on, this should take a few seconds to reveal something, and they're dragging it out for 10 minutes. And they have hundreds and thousands of followers and people sharing it, and I'm thinking, why are you sharing this crap? Sorry, but
it's
money in it, obviously, but it's money in some of it.
That's it. It's people maybe trying to share it to get into the good side or something with them, and I don't know. And it is a funny thing, but it was always weird that we always said YouTube's going to be really big, and you know, if you know. But back then we're like, we used to ask, like, you know, when we sort of talked about it, and then the next weekend you'd maybe talk about it again. You'd be like, but hard, because there's no money in it, you know. Technically, you have to waste your time making a video and all. Like he like, what's the point? Back then we probably he'd have made a couple of wee sort of silly videos, you know, like Stickman or something, and they would get thousands and thousands of views. You know, it's like, but I used to think there is something here, but we don't know. And one of the ones, you know, there's an idea here, but we don't know what it is yet. You know, other people they figured it out very quickly, you know, or you know that.
Well, they just started doing stuff, mate, and it as the thing as YouTube grew, it obviously got traction.
Yeah.
But like they say, people that use it as an excuse to not start a channel now, there are still like there's like 90, I don't know, hundreds of millions of, or I think it runs into billions of people that watch YouTube and use YouTube. So it's and I mean we're a few of hundreds of plasterers on YouTube. But yeah, they still the site still gain traction. People still want to watch. I mean, if I started to try and do a channel of anything else other than plastering, you know, a week later you had 3 views of your video. Nobody wants to watch it, but you're supplying something. People want answers to questions. They want to know how to do plastering, and they think, well, I watched this guy, and he's really interested. They go, oh, there's another plasterer here. Let's have a click on this channel. And because everyone does it differently, they've got different personalities. It's nice to watch different guys, almost as I do myself. You know, I remember half of you guys, like for interviews and stuff, if I hadn't been watching your channels in the first place. And,
that's true. And
like let's say that old Kirk over in America there, we've got coming on next time, and he was one of the first guys I watched, and I thought, and he started going on about different muds that go off in different times, 10 minutes, 20-minute mud, 30-minute mud, and I'm thinking, mate, you just get what you're given here. You know, there's a bag of finish. It takes about 2 hours to go off in total. And that's it. It won't go off no quicker. It won't go off no slower. And I'm thinking, over in America, they seem to, you know, I want it to go off in 20 minutes. They go, oh yeah, it's a bag of 20-minute plaster, and I couldn't make out what was the difference, mate? I still don't really know now, if I'm honest.
No, I think Kirk was the first main plasterer I found as well. I think he had a brilliant channel, and I thought, you know, he's doing really well.
I think he's been going forever, mate. He's got about 1,000 videos, which I don't know how long it would take to do that. But he's never got fed up with doing it. Only with you, mate. You still kind of. Did you ever get to a point where you're thinking, you know what, I've been doing this for quite a while now, and I can't be bothered, or if it's just part of your life, of work life, is video and stuff.
It's fell into a nice sort of repetitive weekly thing, you know. But at the start of this year, I had a bit of a rough start to this year, like so we did, and then got COVID and all, and I was like, this is really hard, you know. It's sort of really get hard, and then, you know, I just sort of stuck with it anyway. Funny, actually, Ben, you I think video you sort of said about the interview, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was one of the rendering ones I did, where I was rendering over brick recently. That video exploded for some reason, and I don't know why. Again, YouTube's a strange thing, like, but it's at 90,000 views when you first contacted me. I think it was on that video, and I was like, what?
I can't remember whose channel it is, but one of the guys, his channel's doing fairly well. His views are kind of what I call normal, and one of his videos, they say like 10,000 views, 20,000 views, and one of his videos was had 170,000 views, and I'm thinking, but none of his others touched that figure. I'm thinking, what the hell? And I'd watched the video. I think it was like one of the how to plaster a wall ones. And you're kind of thinking, what the hell happened there? That particular how to plaster a wall video got that kind of traction, and then it all kind of went quiet again for well, not quiet, but.
That is it is the strange thing of it, like, because I was looking at the video and was like, why? Like, it did have a lot of comments, a lot of likes and stuff and all, but you go, so did lots of other videos, and like saying that, like, it's keeping way tumbling back down to just normal again, you know, where you thought it would have been anyway, but it was just like, how did that do so well, and what did I do wrong? You know, I don't know, but that's the funny thing of YouTube. You just don't know. Like, you know, if anybody was starting a channel, you know, they could start a channel tomorrow and do 3-4 videos and end up with million subscribers. Technically, you know, just don't know.
I've seen some big ones that you kind of think, oh, and you check how many videos they got, and He got about 25 videos, and you think, he got like 500,000
millions and millions of followers,
or subscribers. And then I look at the videos and I think, I expect to look at one of the videos and go, wow, no wonder they've got so many subscribers.
It's actually funny. I seen one before. What's his name? His name's Michael something. He's an American guy, and he made a concrete bench.
Right.
And he really, but I was watching this video, and then my jaw did hit the ground. I was like, this is unreal. He basically, I think it's called like cinematography or something, you know. But the detail he put into all his camera work, his angles, his music, his personality, he was jumping all over the place. He was very happy. And all the job turned out amazing. Like, he made this concrete bench and started jumping on it straight away. Like, and you're like, oh, that worked, you know. And I remember he had like 10,000 views on the video, and I remember dropping him a comment. It's like, your channel, if you make a couple more of them, your channel's gonna be massive. That video now has millions of views, you know, and his channel, like, he's millions of subscribers and stuff now, and like, but no other video I don't think exploded the way that one did. It was just strange the way that one exploded. Yes, he made it really good, but at the same time, I have seen a couple of other people's made it really, really good. Like, everything's good in the video, and it's, you know, it's just, you know, it's tens of thousands of views, and you're like, why, you know, what is the sort of difference of that? Like, I don't. There is to YouTube, but
we might find out one day, mate. Yeah, there's lots of people out there. There's a whole genre of people teaching you how to have a better YouTube channel, how to get more followers. I watch some of those, and I pick up some things, but in the end, you just kind of think, well, okay. Depends how much time you got on your hands to look into some of the detailed stuff, and I kind of think, well, if you can put videos out there that people like to watch. And they go down well, then, you know, if you want to try and find out any secrets, I don't think there are any secrets to it, mate, at the end of the day.
Nah, I think it's all luck mostly luck, and like if like you say, the videos are enjoyable and people are liking them, that's the main thing anyway. That's one thing with what I've sort of liked about the channel is the opportunity to be able to help people, you know, maybe help with the odd apprentice, or, you know, somebody maybe just has a patch in the house and they just want to have a go, you know, maybe you do help them people, or a couple of mixed ratios and stuff, you know, that sort of is a good thing of it, that you actually potentially can actually just help somebody, you know, so that's something to sort of enjoy about it as well.
Someone's put, if you get over 50,000 views, it's because they're being watched by Russian bots during their lunchtime.
that's probably that probably is what happened as well. Probably was a bunch of Russians just jumped on it. Like, I've never had a video do so. Like, in the first couple of, like, the 3 weeks or something, I had like 70,000 views, and I was like, is this my channel, you know? It was crazy. Like, I was like, the video's good, but is it that good? I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure I've got better videos, you know. So, but it could have been Russian bots trying to do something to YouTube. You would not know. Like, they could be trying to mess up their algorithms, or
like
YouTube money.
Says here the secret to successful video is starting it with this. What's it? I can't even read that. About a weird trick, or you won't believe how I did this, etc., etc. Yeah, I know a lot of them have those titles. Some of those titles I won't click on, mate, because I think, oh, it's another like, wow, this was amazing, or it's a picture of them going. Think, nah, sorry.
I try. There's certain things I just try and stay clear of. It's like you don't want to be clickbaiting people, because you know, you want the title to be the video. You know,
it's got a link to it, at least to some degree. At least to some degree.
That's somebody did say that to me. I should make a couple of more like titles like that, and I was like, oh, I'm happy enough to take suggestions, you know, if they want to come up with something that makes sense. But it's like, just disaster jobs and all, but like, you know,
I'm going to mess about with some different type of stuff and see if anything happens. Whether people just go, what the hell's Eric just posted on there?
Exactly.
Well, that's it. That's the first time you go, oh, he's posted one of those things again. I know, why bother? Sorry, mate.
It is about experimenting and testing too, because, you know, something better, a certain title, or you know, certain things. I think what you're doing here is brilliant as well with the live streams. You know,
Cheers, mate.
you know, I think it's a cracking idea. I'm raging I didn't think of it first. But
damn those pesky
you got there. No, no, it's good. It's good to be the first person. Things like it really is. But I think the interviewing plasters and all is good. But I think you should keep at it and get, you know, Kirk and.
Cheers, mate. I'm gonna plug on with it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube generally is not that keen on live streams. Their algorithms kind of like, well, this guy's, it don't get many likes. It gets decent watch time because obviously a lot of people, even though they don't stay for the whole thing, apart from my lovely old regulars.
Yeah.
But a lot of them stay on for at least like 20 minutes, half an hour, which you know, I can't get them to watch a 10-minute video. They got halfway through and they're gone. You know, so good from that viewpoint, but we will see, mate. I'm going to soldier on with it and see what happens. I just need I need something to blow up the channel so people go, well, blimey, there's a guy that plasters, you know. If any of your favourite plasterers out there, that guy's interviewed him, so go on his channel if you want to watch the interviews. And but at the minute, mate, YouTube's going, well, now we're kicking you down there, mate, because you don't get many thumbs up. So you know, we'll let a few hundred go out. Or the odd 1,000 if you're lucky, but yeah, I'll buy my time, mate, and see what happens. I enjoy doing it. It's great talking to the likes of you and the other guys, and whoever comes on in future. I mean, I think that's when Kurt comes on. He should be a bit frightened actually, because he's quite. When I had some. When I was chatting to him, only again like via emails and stuff, I sent him a link to one of these so he could see what it was like, so he had an idea of what I meant when I said have an interview on here. And his reply was kind of like, "Oh man, yeah, that looks like funny shit." And I'm thinking, "Funny shit? Is that?" I think it meant it's kind of compliment. Oh, yeah, that's good, you know. But I thought, well, I didn't expect Kurt to say funny shit. Yes. But yeah, and he's good to do it, mate. So. It should be good. But I will soldier on with that, and I think what I need to do basically is say that, I mean, I've had a lot of the cream already, but there's loads of guys out there that go, hang on a minute, mate, you know, I'm really good at this, and so if they are, then they need to contact me, mate, so I can interview them and get their business out there for a start, and and anything else. And,
you might find that too. Like I could push you as well in other smaller channels. You know, there's probably channels there we've never seen because YouTube won't show us, and they're there, you know. So you might find they start contacting you, trying to get themselves a wee bit of momentum too, you know, and get shown.
Well,
this could be a good thing.
The reason with this, and another mate of mine, Stuart Roberts, that does Trowel Talk, like a Facebook group, is doing well because basically, he, you know, if there's any abuse on there, he basically just drops the people off of it.
Cuts it out.
Because like the others, there's lots of people on them, but you get a newbie on there, he puts up a picture, and all they do is just slate it.
Them.
You know, and that's not on. But
I found a lot of that on Facebook. Yeah.
Stuart likes helping people, and I know just from life's learning, university, or whatever it's called, that if you help other people, then you help yourself. You know, and I thought I just want to promote. I mean, before I started doing the interviews, I would say like, "Oh, this is a good guy to follow," or go on Trowel Talk Facebook group. It's a brilliant Facebook group because you won't get no shit over there. And and this has kind of slowly just kind of been born more by accident than by. I didn't plan it. I didn't think, you know what, it'd be quite good if I could interview plasterers, you know.
No, that's sometimes the things by accident do turn out to be the best ideas too, you know, the best things. Because at the same time as well, you know, you don't have to stick to plasters. There's bricklayers, they're massive.
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, because I've called this Ask the Plasterer, that I would probably always be called Ask the Plasterer, even if at some stage, once we've got through the whole world's worth of plasterers, that chippies or bricklayers or whatever, I'll go, well, I'm up for an interview on another guy I know, did some work for me years ago, Robin Clevitt. He's a chippy over here, and he is a really on it carpenter, and he did a roof for me. Yeah, go on, mate.
He's not the guy who works for Skill Builder, is he?
Skill Builder. He was on there. That's the first time I saw him on there, and I thought I recognised that guy. And then I realised when me and him were about 20 odd, He did a roof. Me and a mate of mine were doing an extension for someone, and we knew him via a friend as a good carpenter, even though he was quite young. And he could literally, back then when he was 20-something, and he's in his late 50s now, he would chop up the whole roof on the ground, just take all the wood up there, and it would all fit. And I used to think, wow, you know, that was amazing. And I thought, he'll do well for himself, and he has.
He's big. I remember I first seen him on Skill Build and thought, this guy's really good, you know. He's like anything he was saying, everything. But you know, I think he was touched on that earlier. But things he's saying, you're like, that makes sense. That 2 and 2's adding up here, you know. I was like, it's brilliant. Like he's, you know, a Skill Build would do well to keep him. Yeah, he would do well to keep him on his channel, but I think he's maybe doing his own stuff now.
He's doing his own stuff now. I think initially he had a bit of a channel, didn't really pursue it that much, but on Skill Builder with old Roger Bisbee, I think he was on there quite a lot, and Roger's probably said to him, well, look, mate, you know, you're quite popular, so you might as well pursue it. Because initially he did a few videos, but they were kind of quite, you know, nothing special. But now he still does the odd one that's kind of like, it's not fancy, but now you can tell that they're starting to get far more polished, mate, and he does these whole house refurb things or rebuilds in his own gaff, which is a beautiful place from what I can see. And he does all the videos on that, and they are good. And he's a really nice guy, and he's a fantastic chippy. And I think his number plate's level 1 or something like that, you know, like spirit level. And you think, oh mate, Robert, you're doing all right, mate. He's got a spot on Fixed Radio as well for the people that do listen to Fixed Radio. Carpentry show on there for an hour. You know, so you think,
and us plasters are just down the back.
Well, we should be a lot more up here, mate.
I think so. It's kind of like fun. I remember being on a job before, and the site foreman treated the joiners. He was giving them, and like he was buying them new drills and stuff, and like we were just treated like dogs. Like what's going on? And we were like we're working every bit as hard as every other man, but just going on. The same as in the films, we always sort of, you know, it's like a private thing. So there's plasterers and there's chippies and there's scaffolders. We call them riggers. They put up all the scaffolding on. We're like, we're definitely treated the worst out of them all, you know. We're doing the hardest stuff, and we're treated the worst.
Well, ours is the art. It is the art form, mate. Because let's face it, you're taking a bag of powder, you know, of some sort or another, and you're making a room that's an old brick shack look amazing on the inside and the outside. And I'll need to, as time goes by, plug the fact how brilliant plastering is as a trade, and how well deserved it all is, mate, and that we should be being paid twice as much of whatever we're getting paid now, at least.
100%.
Because
100%.
you know, but then in saying that, there are they reckon there's going to be a massive shortage of tradesmen, which obviously includes plastering by 2024, 25, because a lot of new people aren't coming into it. And a lot of the old guys getting old and dying and all that kind of stuff.
Giving up.
And they need to
picking and choosing their jobs.
Yeah, and there's no one to replace them, which does mean as the next few years go on, we're going to get busier and busier, which is, I'm not knocking, you know, but so anyone out there that's listening that's thinking, oh, should I, you know, I don't know if I'll take this up as a trade, you really should seriously consider doing it, because it's got a lot of potential. And for the donkey years I've been doing it, I'm still happy to crack on.
It was funny, for years I tried to get an apprentice, and nobody answered any wee ads I was doing on Facebook or anything. I thought this was really weird. Yeah. But it's a mate of mine during the recession, and remember he's a very good plasterer, big fella in it, and he left, and he left for a while. The work was too up and down. He had bills, and he was like, oh. Yeah, and he went, and he ended up manager like an Apple Greens or something, you know, and at some petrol station. He's manager in there for a while. And he's used to phone me up. He's like, young lads can't even brush the floor in here. He says, they don't know how to brush the floor. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, they don't know how to brush the floor. And I was like, what? And he's like, you know, he says he was taking the brush off them to show them how to brush the floor, like properly brush it and stuff. And he says they would have no chance on the site, like. And I was like, it can't all be like that, like, but. You know, my wee nephew, actually, he's took up the trowel. He's working with a guy I used to work with, so he'll be getting his eyes fairly open, to imagine. But
I mean, it's getting the guys, especially younger guys, and then them keeping. I mean, a lot of them decide they love it and they want to crack on and they want to become plasterers.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys, they after a while, it's kind of like getting up this time every day, and it's a hard slog. Let's face it. And they go, now I'm going to try my shot at being famous as a pop star, or I don't know, just doing something else. Until later when they realise, if I'd have stuck at that plastering, I'd be doing all right now.
Well, I know a couple of people just giving up, like, you know, the mate Ryan giving up for a while, and he was actually washing bins. He got this company, he was washing out bins, and he was making plenty of money. It was like, you're doing really well, and then he gets sick of it, and he came back to plastering. But you know, at least I suppose he can maybe fall back into that job again. And another fella during the session, he just says, I'm not coming back until the money's at such and such, and started doing taxi driving. Just said, I'm just not doing it.
Right.
You know, there was just too much work for too little money. He was saying during that time. I haven't talked to him. That fellow's called Matt. I haven't talked to Matt in years, so I don't know whether he ever came back or anything. And his dad was a plasterer and stuff, so he learned. You know, just thought that's a whole 2 generations.
Like
just
a generation
quit,
thing,
you know, it's like that's, you know, you can't replace them people once they're gone. You know, when they're gone and they're not coming back, that's a big hole, you know. So it is like you say, where does the trades go? You know, like if to me they have to open up the colleges again, get people somewhat interested, you know. But there is some going here, but they're not as big as they were when I was a kid. Like they're not, you know. There's my sister works in one, and they don't even have plastering in it.
Oh well, mate. All we can do is crack on and see what happens. I mean, we could, you know, you have a little bit of influence in your own kind of little circle, but any big ideas that need to be funded by, I don't know, government or whoever, I don't know, needs to be done by them, because you can make suggestions about stuff and it'd be good to do this, be good to have apprenticeships, and they sing and dance about, oh yeah, we're going to do some great apprenticeship stuff, and then they don't, or they don't keep it going for long enough. I better just have a quick look at some of these questions, mate.
Yes. Well.
And I think that most of the guys, are just chatting about to each other because we're too busy talking to be able to talk to them. One of the guys earlier was asking, and I was going to ask you anyway, do you use the speed skims or spats or anything? And if you do you prefer one type to the other? Or
well, recently the Spear Jackson, I think it's called a Tizak. That's I fell into the category of really liking that one. It has a changeable blade, so if you dinged your blade, you can change it. But
you can change it.
It's as good as
these.
And the one I use was probably like a 3 foot one, 4 foot.
Right. Fairly big.
But I don't use them. Don't use them all. Really, just if I was bonding skimming the ceiling or something, then you know couldn't get it right with the trowel, and like pull that out and use it. But most times just for sealing. Yeah, just most times. Just like like I say, when we used to straighten seams with a big 6 foot straight edge.
Yeah.
And that was like so when you found a bump there, you're like, you can't fix it. You know, you just have to go off the hard point and bluff it into the corner. As long as that point straight, it's a lot less noticeable. You know. Where the speed skims, they still do the same job, but that'd be a bit small. It's a bit kinder to you. But definitely the Spear Jackson one, it seems to have a good pole as well, like a good clip and a good attachment. The rest are all great. To be honest, I've used loads. I've used the Refina speed skim themselves before they were bought by Ox as well. What was the other one? Superproof as well. Rambo tools. To me they're all pretty much the same. And I found that favoured that one the most out of them all. You know.
So that would technically be your favourite then. People like to know what your favourite is. What's your favourite? What's your favourite trowel? Is that a Tizak as well, or a Marshall trowel?
No, it's Refina one. A stainless steel. I've had it. I actually unboxed it on the channel donkeys ago, so it's
still going
if anybody
strong.
could dig it out. It's still going. I don't use it for sand cement no more, or anything that could chip it. You know, it's too precious for anything dirty. You know, it has to be just
drop
skimming.
it, mate. You're not cleaning the floor with it then.
No. It's just basically I'll throw on with it, lay down, trowel in, and then at the end I'll superflex. And most times that's been the Refina 3 I've been using. It's a bit stiffer. And then recently I got Ragni tools there. and I'm liking that. It's got a high lift with a super flex blade, and the high lift seems to give you some type of more pressure, you know, with the angle, and it's like more pressure but less pressure, if that makes sense. Like a nicer cut with less pressure. Yeah, it's a strange one, but it's pretty nice, like, as well. So I'm starting to like that from the finishing trowel. But you know yourself, you have to protect them too. One nick on them, they're no good. The big lad that helped me, he's went through like 2 ox trowels. I find they're probably, they chip very easy, I think, the ox ones.
Yeah.
Not sure if you've used them.
Yeah, I've got my Ultraflex is an ox Ultraflex.
Yes.
And I do find the blade on that. Sometimes I'll go to the, it was fine the last job I did, and then I'll go to the trowel and wall up, I'll give it a bit of a hard trowel, and suddenly I'm seeing
and it's always scrapes.
That's it, a little scratch on it, and I'm thinking, what's happened there? You know, and I'm kind of like rubbing it on a bit of sandpaper. I'm thinking, oh no, or I'm turning the trowel around the other, like backwards to do my cross trowel, because that's so it's not scratching it. But you don't need to be doing that with the trowel.
He done in 2 with me, so he has one. He was troweling up and he got it down and it hit a trestle, a real solid trestle. And I heard the ding and I turned around and he looked at me and I was like, "That's done." And he just flung it across the room. He just flung it. He's raging. He's like 60 quid down the drain or whatever it was. And I picked it up. The chunk out of it was insane. And then on site, that one of them last ones we did, the vlogs, he had a bad nick in it at the bottom. And I was like, "How'd you get that?" He's like, "I think there's staples. The joiners are leaving me pins in the door.
Right.
You know, the hold the door frame square until they fit it. But they're doing them off, and I think he's clipped one of them, and it's took a wee chunk out, and then it was pretty bad. It was like, if you looked at it, it was also curved the metal up.
Alright.
And I was like, and he was about to chuck me. "Don't chuck it. Give me it." He had his grinder there, and I put the grinder across it, and he started using it again. He's like, "This is brilliant again." So
I've tried grinding the trowel once with a grind, and if there's a fast grinder, it basically burns it off, apparently. And the edges, like the edge looks good, but if you do it wrong. But like anything else, I suppose that comes with practice, that you can get a nice edge back on the trowel, depending on how big the dink is. I had a real favourite trowel that I'd used for years. Technically, it's probably more of a floor laying trowel. It had a point, but I was using it when I was doing these curved ceilings, because the point where 2 curves met, the point didn't dig. Look, because there was no corners on it at the front, and it was a nice long one. I used it for years. I wore it in, and then a couple of my old videos I'm using it, and I've had a few comments. What the hell are you doing that ceiling with a floor trowel and all that kind of stuff? And I was doing a bathroom and I dropped that, and I don't know what it hit, mate. And I picked it up and it had literally like a groove in the blade, and there's no way I was going to get, you know, it looked like it went a quarter of an inch in. It didn't go that far, but that's what it looked like, and I thought, that's had it, mate. So I had to buy a new one and then start wearing that in. But of course you could get pre-bought ones now, which they're kind of halfway there, really. Because they don't do a lot of rendering anymore, they take a while to, I mean, a nice carbon trowel would wear in quicker because of the rust. The rust off, do a bit of cement work, lovely. But the stain, I found when I first started using like Marshalltown stainless steel, and I was thinking, and it took a long time to get it. I mean, my old carbon one, you could cut paper with it, and it was like a razor blade on the end. But even now, my my stainless steel one it's sharp. It cuts me off, and when I'm being stupid. But it's still not as sharp as the carbon one that I had. But,
I think them ox trowels, I think they're probably the sharpest, the Superflex ox ones. And they need to be careful with them. One of them gave me a severe cut one time, like right into the fat part of the hand. I was like, wow. Like,
you've only got to bang one of those even straight on like that on your hand.
Yeah, just a cap and it's open. They're razor blade sharp. I think that's part of why they're so easy damaged, because they're so fine edged. So it's like, but his one was easy. I had to cut the top off it. I don't know if you've seen it, but I made a couple of midget trowels. It was a similar idea to that there, where
did you
I had old trowels. I had an old trowel. The Marshalltown one, and it was broke in lovely, and then it started to go, and I was like, and I cut it. But see, it's funny, see the amount of times I use that there would surprise you, up around the archives. It just fits in lovely, You ever see them, you're troweling it that way, and then next minute you've got this wee bump. And that just, you get it that way, and that just kills that completely. Yeah,
no, it's nice, mate.
It's
nice to have things that fit in between architraves and stuff, so you can go across with something, not just have to do it up and down and try and maybe use a small...
and get the floor
oh man. Without doubt.
I know. I used to use scrapers and stuff to do it, but then they would always get dirty, and I would never leave the same finish as a bit of pressure of the trowel and stuff that way.
Yeah, you can't be a decent trowel with a handle, and if you can get various sizes, like let's say the ones you cut down, and you get them nice, mate, then lovely.
And I had there was a wee Japanese one I had as well, but I left it outside. I was doing bits of concrete and stuff, and it sort of left it outside. Like it was a wee bit dirty. It wasn't too dirty, but it broke on me. And I was like, oh no, because it was really small. Right. So like them really small areas, I was just like, wee.
Got two fingers in the palm like this there.
Yeah, and that's the way you sort of hold it. But it was like sometimes when you're in around a wee pipe or something, it's just so good. And it did the job, And sometimes when you're trying to be, fussy and get them wee awkward bits good, it really came in well. So it did.
Mate. Question I asked all the guys that come on here. You're not a vegetarian, mate, are you?
No.
Bacon sandwich, brown sauce, or tomato ketchup?
It'd be tomato sauce.
Tomato?
Definitely. Tomato.
Oh, yeah, gone down. Everyone was calling you a legend tonight, but you've just gone down in my estimation. I'm a brown sauce man.
I'll probably get worse. I hate the full bacon. I can't. It has to be just the meat. No fat, no stringy fat.
So you trim it off, you take it out and chew it off if you get it in a shop or in a cafe. So hang on, mate, can you cut the fat off, please? I don't like the fat. I'm plenty of tomato ketchup.
Try to stay away from it too, though. It's not. It wouldn't be the best thing to be.
It's not good for you, mate. But it's bloody lovely.
Yeah. There's a big fella. He used to eat sausage rolls on the way to work, and you're like, oh no, it's just gonna stink all day. Like, sausage rolls, red sauce, and all, and he's half asleep. Oh, you're just like, this is not gonna be fun in about an hour's time, like
Nah.
Like, oh, it's just poison.
Mate. Dear. I'm trying to think if there's anything that. Hang on. I haven't asked you that I don't forget and go. Oh, I meant to ask you that. Covered the brown sauce, which sauce you have, mate. It's obviously ketchup for you. Sand cement. You do sand cement and K-Rend and all that kind of.
Yeah.
You make about with all the silicone type stuff as well, and monocouche, anything like that, or.
Yeah, the whole sort of lot. The last guys that the thin coat sort of. I don't think that's out all that long. I could be wrong, but the only person I've seen doing that before when I was learning was Kirk. We only had like one video, and it was really scratchy, and I couldn't make out what they were doing. But the guys I learned that off, they were the last people I sort of worked for as plasterers. Yeah. I learned that from them, and they were very good at it. But to me, that thin coat stuff, if you're doing anything big, you need a lot of guys on it. Because if it starts jointing, it just starts ripping. Right. It's like yourself. If you ever go to silicone bath and you kind of you miss a wee bit, and then you put another bit on, then you do this, and then it all starts ripping and peeling up. It's kind of that idea only on a wall. It's like and it never ever happened with us. There was one massive wall. There was three of us on, and the sun was hitting us. Yeah. The worst day you could ever be doing that type of work. And a couple of bits were trying to do it, and the guy Kevin, who's in charge, he sorted them quickly, and then we kept moving down. But it was like. He's like, we'll have to go quicker, and sweat flying out of you, and you're going, go any quicker, my arm will fall off here, But I really like that stuff. I think it's one of the nicest finishes, to be honest.
I mean, is the thin coat one, because I don't use any of the new gear at all, or new to me.
Yeah.
One of the guys was putting where you've got to do 2 coats, and the first coat you can put on, and it has to be on there a fair long time. And they were discussing if it rains, it's going to knacker it. So if it looks like it's going to rain, don't do it. Yeah. Because you've got to leave it till the next day, I think, before you can. Lots of hours before you put another coat on. And I just thought, whoa, it sounds.
Not sure which one. I know the acrylic. Now, when we did that, it's a strange one because it'll it'll start to go off on you where you can't use it anymore, but it does sort of take 12, 24 hours to actually set, where if it rained, the colour will streak. Right. And if it streaks on the... Like these guys, when we were doing it on a big massive house, and they were doing it up, they took a weekend and went and did the chimney top, and then it rained, and they got a phone call, this is all over the roof, it's streaking. It didn't come off, it just streaked onto the tiles, and they were up with acetones, everything, couldn't get the tiles.
Couldn't get the streaks out of the...
Couldn't get it. It was like it burnt into the tile, natural stone tile, so it probably soaked into some of the pores of it or something, and they couldn't. They were even that the next day they were still scrubbing it. And like we were here all night. They were putting plastic bags and all around the chimney trying everything to save it. And I was like, oh dear.
Okay.
But so I do think you have to be sort of careful what you're doing with it. But the K-Rand, it's funny because I always call it K-Rand, is the one. So Matt Push is the one that gets scratched off.
That's the one I've seen.
So that's the one that gets rubbed off. But to be honest, I don't find it too bad when it comes to rain with that stuff. Yeah. And I put it on fairly thick. I do 2 coats of that straight on the black, put the beads on, and then once I have it all straightened, I actually put like a wee cream coat on, just to sort of close it all in, and then I rip it off the next day. You can put accelerators in, but I don't like the idea of that there. I think people use machine plastering, put the accelerators in so they can scratch it off same day, you know, but I've never done it. Two guys that I was talking about there mentioned they used to love trying to scratch it off same day, but to me it never looked great at all. It made too much splotches. It was like the blades, the teeth, the way they have all the teeth in them. To me, what was happening was you rub it too early, it gets very soft and it stays in them and compacts, and then you rub it up like a float. Right. So that area stays smooth and it doesn't come out textured. Right. And then what you do is you clean your float out and you want to texture that, but it then gives you a big ripple. Right. You know, like a big dip. Yeah. Because I remember arguing with them and saying like it was their job, like, and I was you know trying to look out for it. I was like, I never ever took it off same day. Like even in the hottest days, we still came back the next morning. Maybe just did the peak or something and then thought, oh, we'll let it go the next morning. But they were just, no, we'll get it done today and it's done and all. Even if I come back tomorrow, I could do all this on my own, you know. Yeah. And I, no, you know, because I work for them, I think he doesn't know what he's talking about, you know.
Oh dear. I'm definitely going to leave all that gear alone, mate. Unless I do it for myself on my own place. But if I was younger, I'd probably go, I'm going to see if I can try this gear out. And but now I kind of think, it could cause me a headache. Like a kind of headache, which I learned the hard way, that our finished plaster stains unprotected oak.
Yeah, and you were gonna say,
oh man, I can't remember. I think it was a door or someone's window, and it got a blob of plaster on it. I thought nothing of it. Went to wipe it off, and it's this dark brown mark.
Pure dark brown.
I thought when that dries, when the water dries, it will disappear. But of course it doesn't, does it?
It's strange the way finish reacts with certain things. You know, oak's one, and then anything that can rust touches finish, and it's going to rust very quickly. Yeah. My transit fan. You tasted that
rusty old van, is it, mate?
So I used to have this red transit fan that had Mac Plastering wrote on it. Yeah. And the big fella was in helped me with this job, and we ended up there. I don't think we get home to like 10, half 10 at night, so we're very sleepy, you know. And he loaded up the van, but it was pitch black. Yeah. And I was like, I came out the next morning. I had another stupid clock to start again the next morning. I get out and it's like, what's all over my van? Like, people were flashing me on the way home and all, and I was like, looking, I was like, let my lights aren't on. I didn't know. And I get out, there was icicles of finish the whole way underneath the van, all the way around the back, like this size. And I was like, what is that? You know, what is that? And on the icicles of finish was drips of rust dripping as well. And I was like, this is not good. And I opened the van door. He put a half bag on top of like 3 bags. It just fell. It was pouring down out the side door and all the way around the bottom of the van. The back door of the van rusted off about that much, just completely gone.
Wow. I didn't realise it was that bad.
it had been raining that night. It was a rusty old bucket too, but it had been raining that night when we were going home too. So all this smoke all this dust was probably flying over everybody, and they're all flash thinking the back of the van's on fire or something. But I remember I was like, he wasn't working. I was wondering, I was like, what are you done, you idiot? He was, I don't know, I couldn't see back of the van. I mean, mate, you wrecked my van. The back door, we ended up. He got me fiberglass and my fiberglass, the back door and stuff.
So what repairs?
Like
just
a quick repair.
Yeah.
Just to get a quick I think it was I think I was working and I asked my dad to bring it down to the MOT and they were like, don't bring it back. Here's different. We have to go to a centre. Yeah. It's like a government centre and they pass us for the whole year. I think you guys have your own mechanics.
Yeah.
So we have to go to mechanics, get it repaired, then go there and they just said to them, don't bring it back.
It's not going to pass, basically, is what they're saying.
They were like, we'll pass you this year, but don't bring it back next year. So I was like, just let it and have to scrap it in.
That's about the biggest hit you need, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, there was actually a funny too, but because it was probably the only transit that people, like, it never leaked oil. Never leaked oil.
Never leaked oil, blimey.
Never leaked oil. Probably had no oil in it. And, and it started... Even in the cold, it started. I put a new battery in it. It started all the time, like perfectly.
Mind you, Ford motors have always been pretty good for starting.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaker getting rid of it that way. Like, because I remember a builder I was working for at the time. He was like, "I seen your old van." I was like, "Where?" Because I thought, see, he gets her driving about the road with it. He was like, "Down the scrapyard, they're driving it back and forward with all the scrap in the back."
Yeah.
So it just shows you, like, they were still using it in the scrapyard to bring metal from one end to the other end. You know. So
yeah.
It showed you how good it was, you know. Till it fell apart completely.
Mate. Well, Mac, it's been a pleasure, mate. But I think what's the time? Hang on, put the old glasses on because I'm an old man here. I can't really see very well. 10 to 9.
That's it.
Hang about though, mate, because we can say goodbye to everybody, and I'll have a quick chat with you. Once they've all cleared off out of the pub. So I'll get out of my pub. The Alton Trowel, he's shutting a bit early, lads. So I'm sorry about that, but the Alton Trowel likes to shut about 8:45, 9 o'clock. So, Mac, cheers for coming, mate. It's been great to chat. I could probably chat all night, mate, but
that's it, definitely. I appreciate you bringing me on, man. I appreciate it.
Mate, it'd be nice to do it again, and also, I want to try and organise something where we can get at least a couple of the guys on at the same time, so we can all have a chat. Together, and see what happens there. But it's been good, mate. How was it for you? Was it alright?
Yeah, brilliant, man. Enjoyed it.
It's fairly easy, mate. And once you get going,
that's it. Once I get going, keep you on for 2 hours talking.
Right, what we got here? A great interview, great show, Eric and Joe. It's all good stuff, mate. Right, thanks everybody. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, guys.
MP. I can't see everybody's. I'll be getting a bit. Hang on. Thanks, MP, Scott, Mark, Spread It, Scott again. Vladimir. Hello, Ukrainian. Someone from Ukraine. Well, hey. God bless them. Scott. Yeah, anyway, guys, as usual, thanks for coming. Don't forget to press the old like button so we can sort this algorithm out. So we can get a few more views.
Smash the algorithm.
Smash that algorithm, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and all the other things what they YouTubers say in YouTube land.
That's it.
Cool. Yeah, cool. We can type as well, can't we? I'm forgetting that. I'm so busy chatting, mate. I never type anything because, like I said, I can't multitask. I can't multitask.
I used to type in and then find myself typing more than I was talking. And be like, oh no, then you could talk. No, it's been a great show, man.
Okay,
thanks
cheers,
again,
mate. Right. I'm going to say stay there, Mac. Don't go anywhere. Cheers, guys. I'm going to fade you off to black now. I'm going to disappear and turn my mic off so you can't hear me and Mac chatting. We'll probably carry on for another hour. And thanks for coming along. And we'll see you next After the Plasterer. Don't forget, Kirk. I think Kirk Giordano is on the 16th of May. I don't know if that's but yeah, but I'll keep you posted, and I'll put adverts up and all the usual stuff, guys. So I will speak to you soon, and right, this hopefully is me disappearing. Let's turn my old mic off.